measures to address and mitigate the potential impact of drought. Cabinet further urged the residents of Nelson Mandela Bay to adhere to water restrictions imposed by local municipalities to ensure water security. Overall, water use must be reduced by 50 million litres per day from the current level of 280 million litres per day down to 230 million litres per day. On the crime and corruption, Cabinet welcomed the recent arrest of a Home Affairs official stationed at the Benoni office for issuing a fraudulent passport to a Bangladeshi national. The official, Ms. Bongile Simelan, was granted 5,000 bail in the Benoni Magistrates Court on Tuesday, 21 June 2022. The Bangladeshi national, Mr. Fahim Kazi, was arrested while trying to leave the country on the 12th May 2022 under the name Lebogang Dlovu. The Department of Home Affairs recently deported Lithuanian actress Ms. Liva Andrevajaite, who sought to abuse South Africa's refugee management regime when she fabricated a story of wanting to apply for asylum because of the war in Ukraine. Cabinet commends the work being done by the Department of Home Affairs Counter-Corruption Unit. It applauds and encourages ordinary South Africans to continue to report such criminal acts. The unlawful acts of South Africans who sell their identities have far-reaching negative implications for the country's security and socio-economic status. Government will continue to deal harshly against anyone involved in illegal acts that undermine our immigration laws without fear or favor. Cabinet also welcomed the recent convictions and sentencing of a Durban teacher, Ms. Nomusa Precious Kabuza, who was sentenced to 3 years correctional supervision and 4 years imprisonment. Wholly suspended for 3 years in the Umlaza Regional Court in KwaZulu-Natal for contravening the Local Government Municipal Electoral Act 2000 as a teacher at school which was used as voting station during municipal elections in October 2021. Ms. Kabuza pleaded guilty for fraudulently casting 24 votes, including 12 for municipal elections and 12 for the ward elections. The conviction and sentencing underscore the Electoral Commission of South Africa's commitment to intervene timelessly and apply consequence management. This is also a strong affirmation of the electoral system, which have since been strengthened with the introduction of the voter management device that prevents double counting. Cabinet affirmed that elections are the cornerstone of our democracy and must be protected at all costs. On the World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference, Cabinet welcomed the outcome of the WTO MC12 in Geneva, Switzerland, from 12 to 17 June 2022. In particular, the decision that eligible countries could override COVID-19 vaccine patents until 2027. The decision on whether to extend this to COVID-19 therapeutics and diagnostics was delayed for 6 months. South Africa had been leading the call for WTO to waiver intellectual property rights tied to COVID-19 vaccines that will ensure equal access to vaccine and enable countries that have the capability to manufacture vaccine to do so. The conference also committed to an open and inclusive process to reform all its functions and agreed to a package of trade deals addressing areas such as health, setting limits on fishing subsidies, a moratorium on e-commerce trade and food security. On the cabinet decisions, progress on broadcasting digital migration. Cabinet received an update on the BDM, which is Broadcasting Digital Migration Program, noted the progress made with the installation of set-top boxes as part of migrating from analog to digital broadcasting. Cabinet re-emphasized the urgency of concluding the BDM to free up the spectrum needed for mobile broadband and other information and communications technology related purposes. Communications and Digital Technologies Minister Khumbudzo Ntshavheni will actually hold a media briefing tomorrow to actually elaborate further on the matter. On the annual Child Rights Status Report, Cabinet approved the second annual National Child Rights Status Report to be published. The report provides an update on the implementation of National Plan of Action for the Children for 2019-2024 period. The report highlights the achievements recorded for 2020-21 period. It also highlights areas that remain a challenge, including the safety of children and the continued disparities between the poor and the rich in respect of the children. The report also reflects on how COVID-19 pandemic impacted on children during this period. The intervention measures being implemented by government are aimed at realizing the rights of children as outlined in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa 1996. They also support the country's obligations to the United Nations Conventions on the Right of Child and the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of Child. South Africa is signatory to both the UNCRC and ACRWC. The report was compiled in consultation with government departments and a number of relevant stakeholders at national and provincial levels. The full report will be posted on the Department of Social Development website, www.dst.gov.za. On the South Africa's combined third to sixth periodic report, the UNCRC, Cabinet approved the tabling of the third to sixth periodic report to the United Nations Convention. This report follows the second periodic report that was tabled to the same convention in 2014. The report has been compiled in accordance with Article 44 of the UNCRC and also covers the observations and recommendations made from the last report. The UNCRC sent its observation and recommendations for the country in 2016. The compilation was done in consultation with all relevant departments and stakeholders across the country. The full report will be made public once it has been tabled to the international institution. On the national report on implementing the new urban agenda, Cabinet approved the submission of South Africa's first national report on the implementation of the new urban agenda to United Nations Human Settlement Program. The UN Habitat adopted its new urban agenda at its conference on the housing and sustainable urban development. In 2016, member states were expected to submit progress reports voluntarily. South Africa supported the adoption of the new urban agenda and subsequently implemented it through the country's integrated urban development framework. The IUDF aims to guide the development of inclusive, resilient and livable urban settlement. The progress report was compiled in consultation with national, provincial and local spheres of government and relevant NGOs. On the integrated youth development strategy, Cabinet approved this strategy for implementation. The strategy gives effect to the National Youth Policy 2020-2030. It outlines the actions, projects and programs to be undertaken by various stakeholders from youth formations. It also deals with minimizing the duplication of government intervention and guides how civil society and the private sector can support young people from accessing opportunities. The compilation of the strategy involved diverse inputs from various sectors of society. On the draft white paper on conservation of the sustainable use of South Africa's biodiversity. Cabinet approved the draft white paper on conservation and sustainable use of South Africa's biodiversity for public comments. South Africa's biodiversity provides an important basis for economic growth and development and is critical to people's livelihoods. The white paper gives effect to the recommendations made by the high-level panel of experts appointed in 2019 to review our current policies, legislation, and practices on matters relating to iconic species. The report recommends the development of an overarching policy on conservation and sustainable use of the country's biodiversity. The policy will be implemented across all spheres of government. Conservation is important for the country's drive to accelerate economic growth and job creation. On the game meat strategy, Cabinet approved the publication of the draft game meat strategy for public comment. The strategy seeks to formalize and transform the game meat industry. It also seeks to contribute towards food security in a sustainable manner. The game meat industry is permanently an informal industry that operates in a fragmented manner. The proposed strategy provides an implementation plan that will formalize and strengthen the sector as both a provider of food security and an economic growth sector that can help create job opportunities. On the bills, Traditional Affairs General Amendment Bill of 2022, Cabinet approved the submission of this bill to Parliament for further processing. The amendment seeks to revise the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act 2019, which came into effect on April 2021. The protection of constitutional democracy against terrorism related activities and Amendment Bill 2022, Cabinet approved the submission of the protection of constitutional democracy against terrorist and related activities Amendment Bill of 2022 to Parliament for further processing. Once adopted, the bill will amend the current protection of constitutional democracy against terrorist and related activities Act 2004. The bill went through an extensive public consultation process after it was approved by Cabinet in May 2021. The amendments seek to align the country's domestic instruments of fighting terrorism with the global measures that have been put in place. They have also addressed the clauses that were deemed unconstitutional by the Constitutional Court. As a signatory to the UN Security Council, South Africa is duty-bound to domesticate on the upcoming event. 14th Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa Summit. President will lead South Africa's participation in the virtual 14th BRICS Leaders Summit hosted by the People's Republic of China from Thursday 23rd to Friday 24 June 22. Our BRICS membership continues to benefit the country. Last year, over 17% of South Africa's exports were destined to cover BRICS countries, and over 29% of our total imports came from these countries. The value of this trade continues to grow, with total South Africa trade with other BRICS countries reaching 702 billion in 2021, up from 487 billion in 2017. Collaboration within BRICS members in various areas such as health and an enhanced trade has grown our local industry and benefited all BRICS members. Our investment in infrastructure development projects and efforts to reduce red tape when doing business aim to increase exports to our BRICS partners. On the economic governance winter school, the National School of Governance will host its third economic governance winter school program for political activities in Joburg from 27 to 1st July 2022. It will be attended by ministers from Côte d'Ivoire, South Sudan, and South Africa, and Director General from Lesotho, Zambia, Democratic Republic of Congo, Tanzania, and Ghana. South African mayors, as well as members of mayoral committees and executive, will also attend. The political executives from different countries are expected to share ideas and lessons from different scenarios that they experience in their day-to-day work. The NSG designed the annual program for members of the executives in 2020 as part of its support to government commitment to build a capable state. It seeks to, among other things, equip executives within 3 spheres of government with enhanced leadership and oversight capabilities to be able to re-examine governance challenges that constrain inclusivity and sustainable growth, economic growth. On the Nelson Mandela International Day, this year's Nelson Mandela International Day on Monday, 18 July 2022, will be celebrated under the global theme, open quote, "Do what you can with what you have wherever you are," close quotes. It is a clarion call for all people to support and participate in the campaign by contributing sustainable intervention with a lasting impact. One such sustainable intervention is the annual Nelson Mandela Youth Dialogue and Ethical Leadership Program, focusing on topical issues concerning young people in South Africa and across the globe. On the tax season, the 2022 tax filing season will open from 1st July to 24 October 2022. Taxpayers are encouraged to file their returns on e-filing, www.sars.filing.co.za, or on the South African Revenue Service, SARS Mobi app. This year, SARS will continue with the auto-assessment of individual taxpayers, which is pre-populated income tax return, to help simplify the submission process. In 2021, more than 3 million taxpayers were also auto-assessed. The timely and accurate submission of tax returns not only ensures taxpayers remain compliant, but it also helps government to deliver services to South Africa who need them most. On special messages, Cabinet extended its congratulations and well wishes to the following: Judge Owen Lloyd Rogers, following his recent appointment as a judge of the Constitutional Court of South Africa. Cabinet joined President Ramaphosa in wishing former President Thabo Mbeki a happy 80th birthday, which is celebrated on the 18th June 2022. Mr. Mbeki envisioned a bright and a prosperous future for all South Africans. On the appointment, all appointments are subject to, as said before, to verification of qualifications and relevant clearance. Non-executive directors of the South African Civil Aviation Authority Board, which comprised of the following: Mr. Ernest Kosa, Ms. Bulelwa Koyana, Ms. Sandra Soklala, and Ms. Rejoice Edith Pewa. Members of the Office of Disclosure of Home Loan and Mortgage Disclosure: Ms. Kinosi Pel Luis Selani, Chairperson; Ms. Catharina Maria van der Sant; Ms. Errol Vincent Magaman; Advocate Mandla Dudlu; Mr. Muchwabane Gabriel Melo; Ms. Palisa Mawasha; Ms. Penelope Ann Beck Paxton; Ms. Piwe Doris Mainga; Ms. Chifiwa Victor Mapingalale, and Mr. Zuko Namani. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think we'd invite Dr. Phaahla.
Thank you very much, DG. Greetings to my colleague, Minister Gungubele, to the other DG present of DG of Health, and to our chairs of our ministerial advisory committees, the Advisory Committee on Social Behavior Change, Bishop Mpumulwana. Thank you very much for your presence. And Professor Koleka Mlisana, our co-chair for the Ministerial Advisory Committee on COVID. And representing the MEC on vaccination, Dr. Leslie Bamford from the department, who's a member of that Ministerial Advisory Committee on vaccination. Ladies and gentlemen, today we believe it's indeed a very historic day where we have reached a major turning point since the outbreak of COVID-19, both in the world and in our country specifically. And I'll take you a brief journey back as to where we come from. We recall that our first case was confirmed on the 5th of March 2020 in Pietermaritzburg from a South African who had traveled to Europe. Subsequent to that, President Ramaphosa constituted the National Coronavirus Command Council, and following a meeting on the 16th of March, he announced a nationwide lockdown, which was to take effect from the midnight on the 19th of March. So just over 2 years and 3 months to where we are today, with a strict stay at home. I hope you still remember that, unless you had permission to undertake very essential services. Since then, we have gone through full 4 waves of the COVID-19 pandemic, with the first 3 waves causing major devastation with a lot of loss of life across all sectors of society, including health workers. And on this note, Chair and Minister Gungubele, I think we also remember our colleague, former Minister Jackson Mthembu, who used to preside over this kind of briefings, who was one of the victims of this COVID-19 pandemic. Disruptions of social and economic life have been huge, most painful of all being families unable to visit loved ones who are seriously ill with this virus in hospitals, and even more so that those who passed away had to be buried under strict conditions with only a few family members able to attend. On the economic side, we have witnessed major losses of jobs, closure of several businesses, especially small businesses. But we also see that even big businesses have suffered. We know of many hotels, especially the hospitality industry. There are many hotels which up to today have not yet opened. To delay the spread and allow health facilities to prepare, even as the lockdown was slowly lifted or reduced, a risk-adjusted strategy was used to continue to contain the spread. In February 2021, we started with the vaccination program under the Sisonke program led by the South African Medical Research Council, starting with health workers and followed with the educators. In May, the same year of 2021, we were able to start with high-risk population on an age-adjusted risk, starting with the 60 and above, and progressively moving through the ages until we could reach to the young people, the children of 12 to 17 years in November 2021. We want to take this opportunity on behalf of all government to thank all South Africans for their support and cooperation over this last 2 years and 3 months. While there was a lot of common ground and agreement even across political divides, political parties, early in the pandemic, when we all thought it was going to be a short stint and will be over in a few months, the longer it took, the more people felt the fatigue, and disagreements emerged on strategy on how to, whether the government was correct in the measures taken. We appreciate the fact that notwithstanding those disagreements, even leading to court actions or threats of court action, but essentially the main frame of our approach of protecting society by flattening the curve did remain in place, and a lot of South Africans supported that. So we want to thank South Africans for the resilience in internalizing various measures of prevention and mitigation against the virus, some of which are going to help us even going forward in dealing with some of the old infectious diseases like tuberculosis, also just managing diseases, seasonal diseases like influenza, I'm very pleased to, from time to time, listening on the media, even early this morning when people were interviewed, many of them said, we're not ready to drop the mask because we know that it has helped us. The masks have helped us to avoid flu and other diseases, and we have seen that it works. So these are some of the legacies which we will keep. We thank the collective leadership of our country across all sectors, such as the faith leaders, civil society, traditional leaders, business, academia, youth, women, for rising to the occasion. Even though we did not realize our goal up to now of 70% vaccination, which we had thought we would reach by December, and we had the capacity to do that, at least of the adult population, we take solace on the achievement that as of last night, 37.7 million doses of vaccination have been administered to 20.09 million individuals, adult individuals, and 1.9 million children of between 12 and 17 years. So all in all, just a little short of 22 million South Africans have had a jab. So we applaud also especially the big turnout of the 60-plus age group who surpassed the 70% coverage. As we speak, the 60-plus age group stands at 70.5% coverage with at least one dose. And also the 50 to 59, just over 66% coverage. We believe that the big turnout of the over 50s contributed hugely to the reduced severity and hospitalization and reduced mortality, which we have witnessed in the fourth wave, which started in the middle of November. And even as infections persist today, with the smaller fifth wave, which we've just exited, the mortality and severity rate have been smaller, and we attribute this largely to the fact that the over 50s have vaccinated at just below 70 on average, with the over 60s having surpassed 70%. Because also this is the age group which is high